everybody. Happy Sunday. How are you? Thanks for being here. Let me pull Cherie on. Hey, Cherie.
Hello.
How is everybody? Welcome to Case by Case. Tonight we're talking about the Ashley Garth case. We are recovering her case. We're starting all over again. This is part one. And going forward, I'm going to label every live that we do going in chronological order, part one, part two. And my presentation that I've been working on and putting together. Sorry. The presentation that I've been working on and putting together, I'm just going to keep adding to it every week. That way, if I ever need to go back and reference a live before, it's all in one place. Hey, old cat. Hey, Indiana girl. Hey, hippie chick. Heather Brown, Veronica. How is everybody tonight? I meant to put a poll in here, but I didn't have time. I was trying to get documents uploaded. Indiana girl, hey, Court of Public Opinion, how are you? Indiana girl, did you email me? Was that you? About Ashley's case? Hey, Mino, Dino. So Cherie called it. It was her, Cherie. I'm going to get with you. It's taking me forever to read through all of that. You put a lot of work into what you sent me. And I actually might want to do a live on it to go over it. Yes, that very, very long email with the PDF attached. Yes, about Ashley's case. Yes. I thought that was an incredible amount of work that you put into that. Hey, under your scars. So without further ado, we're going to get moving and know it's Sunday. Everybody probably has to work tomorrow. So I know our guest does. I'm going to introduce him here in just a little bit. Right now, we're going to do a little bit of a recap from last week if you weren't here or if you're new to the case. And this case is ongoing right now. We are in a period between a filing. We're waiting for Ashley's attorney to file his upcoming motion. I believe it would be due. His deadline is March 14th. So we had a request from the court reporter. Ashley had a hearing back in November on the 7th, which of course was in front of the original judge of the case. And he's getting ready to retire and he denied the motion. So now we are moving on. And that motion for Ashley will hopefully be filed before March 14th. But as soon as we get it, I will obviously have it and give you guys an update. But this is an ongoing case. And this case is not, how can I explain it? Social media took a hold of this case from the very beginning, and it just went rampant. And what a lot of people think about this case is not true, and it's not their fault. No one actually covered this case from Ashley's standpoint. That's the problem. So
did you see? I looked on my case last night, I guess it was, and it showed that the court clerk asked for more time to finish
again.
Yeah, it's till the 28th now of this month.
Ashley, did you hear that? The court reporters asked for another extension. I don't know if the judge is going to give it to her.
No, he did. Or yeah, I guess it's still a he.
He approved it?
Yeah, 2 more weeks.
Jesus. I looked on there Saturday, and I talked to Ashley yesterday, and there had been nothing filed. So she must have, I don't understand what's going on. There was a 3-day hearing, and why a clerk in Newton County would need an extension when there's nothing going on in that county. I don't understand it, but
3-hour hearing, you mean?
a 3-hour hearing. So anywho, back to what I was talking about. This case was definitely um, blown into the spotlight, made a high profile case for a short time based on the fact that Garett Kurtz tended to become a person of interest in the Delphi case, which drug Ashey in with him as if she had anything to do with it, and she did not. We're going to address that again, and I'm going to repeat myself 100 times because it's just not it's not sinking in, and it just needs to. Ashey was not a part of the Kokomo crew. Ashey does not have AKA kids. She has one child, not kids. She did not lose custody of her son, and she did not lose custody of her son because of Derek German. She doesn't know Derek German. She doesn't know Gabe Ellis. So all of that whole scenario is it's just a mishmash of information that nobody attempted to verify. They just assumed because she dated Garett that she was involved in all of these um, weird associations, and that's simply not the case. I believe when Gabe Ellis and Derek German were doing their dirt and being arrested, Ashey was still in high school. So that's just not the case. So we're going to recap and go over. Mainly, we're going to start with Ashey again, and then we're going to get into how this case actually started. This case started technically in January of 2019, the very beginning of the month. Hey, the Royal We. Hey, Sarah. Oh, is the volume in and out? Cherie, is my volume in and out?
It sounds good on my end.
Sarah said the volume is in and out, and I have my microphone right here in my face. So this case starts in January 2019. Leading up to 2019, I've already went over, Ashey had left, moved to Florida to go to rehab to get away from the Delphi scene, get her life back on track. Ashey did not live in Indiana in 2017. When Ashey moved back, her and Garett rekindled a relationship that went south very quickly. And for those of you who don't know, this is Ashey. Before, during, and after the case, minus the mugshot photo that is the only one that everybody else seems to circulate around. And we'll discuss that at another time. 2017, Ashey moved to Florida. This picture down here in the bottom left-hand corner is a picture that her Uncle Scott sent me. Her Uncle Scott picked her up when she arrived in Florida. So again, people, please stop including Ashey Garth in any of the goings on in the Delphi case. She wasn't there. She wasn't involved. She didn't know anything about it until after it happened, and she didn't move home until almost April. So that just needs to stop. Back up here, what I do. This is Ashey over here on the right-hand side with her son. I'm trying to, bring her into perspective to all of you because I feel like she's been painted in a very bad light for obviously, the rumor mill and the charges and the case of Nicole Bowen. And, Nicole Bowen was the victim in this case, but so is Ashey. And there has to be room for the both of them to be able to coexist at the same time as victims. And I understand that victims' family want justice, but it's not justice when the wrong person is had their life taken away for something that they did not do. So Garett Kurtz is who Ashey was dating. This is him. He grew up in Brookston. He became involved with drugs, petty crimes at a young age. He had a very extensive record prior to even 2019. He did work at Packers at one point in time. He did spend a lot of time with Ron Logan, working on the farm, taking care of animals, playing out there in the woods, riding four-wheelers, etc. He was very familiar with the property, and he resumed his relationship with Ashey when she returned home from Florida in 2018. I do want to make this very clear as far as Garett goes with the Paladinos. Garett in 2017 was, I don't know what, to be honest, what Garett was doing. But I do know that Garett and the Paladinos had not met yet. Garett did not meet Jason Paladino until they were in the White County Jail together, which was after February of 2017. So I wanted to make that clear because people keep trying to include him in if the Paladinos had anything to do with Derek German or anything of that nature. It wasn't correlated between the Paladinos and Garett. Garett did not know them at that time. This is Nicole Bowen. This is the victim in the case. Went over this before. She has 2 sons. She began dating Garett in early January of 2019. At that point in time, Garett and Ashey were not doing good, and he was cheating on Ashey with Nicole. Ashey kicked him out of the house, and we're going to get into that whole situation tonight with our guest. And Garett Kurtz and Nicole Bowen began living over at the Paladino compound. This was 2.5 months before Nicole's death. So, hey, Cherie, will you keep an eye on the chat for any questions?
Yes.
Move it along here. Okay. January 2019 is when it all starts. And I'm going to touch on these dates really quick before I go into reading the paperwork on it. But I believe it was several weeks before this that Garett was officially, by the owner of the property, asked to move or asked to leave. And there were a lot of issues going on between Garett making threats to Ashey. He showed up and slashed all 4 tires on her truck. He was threatening to hurt her. These messages were being sent to not only is the property owner of this property where Ashey's living, the property owner, but he's also her stepfather. And his name is Kevin, and he's here with us tonight. And I'm going to bring him on here in just a minute. But in January, at the very beginning of January is when Ashey officially broke things off with Garett. On the 21st, prior to the 21st, Garett had been making threats, and Ashey was even afraid to go home and stay at the house because of him being afraid that he would show up. So she had spent the night before with a friend and had the friend bring her. And I think Kevin's going to talk about them having the house possibly checked before Ashey got there to make sure everything was okay. And they thought that it was. But when Ashey got there, Garett was in the house hiding in the closet and came out and literally beat the crap out of her, strangled her multiple times, unconscious, let her wake up, did it again, duct taped her. He had the bathroom. I'll let Kevin go into detail because Kevin showed up. It was, and to be honest, Carroll County at that moment didn't even want to respond to the call. And I'll let Kevin go into all of that. So I'm going to pull myself off screen just so I can maneuver back here and make sure I keep things on screen set up. And I'm going. Kevin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome. How are you?
Fine.
We've got about 80 people in the chat. So if you want to tell everybody, I've kind of introduced you, but you can tell them who you are and how long you've been married to Ashey's mom, how long you've been in her life, and anything else you want to know before we get into what transpired in the month of January.
I'm her stepfather. Me and her mother's been together since she was 9 years old. So I've been in Ashey since 2003, and I don't know what else I could tell you.
Can you tell us, like, what kind of person do you think Ashey is? Is Ashey?
Oh, she's a great person. She's a great person. Me and her, we used to clash. We used to clash bad. And she got in trouble. She got in trouble and was grounded for 6 months. And I had an ankle surgery and was basically, we spent a winter on the couch together. And me and Ashey, I love Ashey. We get along great. She's a great person.
And so let's talk about Ashey going to Florida first, because that came before this. And I know that you guys have tried to stay out of the social media aspect of it, but I mean, even as late as today, listening to other media outlets and stuff, other YouTube people, they're still throwing Ashey in that mix, in the Delphi case and the Derek German, claiming, Derek German snitched on Ashey for something. And so do you have any thoughts about that?
It's bullshit. Ashey was not in the state. When Libby and Abby happened, Ashey was in Florida. I'm not sure when the hurricane hit, but she got home just a couple days before the house that she lived in Panama City Beach was wiped off of the map.
Well, there you go.
Like I said, I'm not quite sure what time of the year the hurricane hit, but it was after it was warming up, because I work outside, and I know it was warming up when Ashey got home.
And on really quick, I'm going to bump forward on this. Oh, no. Based on all what did I do with it here? Hold on. Sorry, guys. I've got to bump through here. I might have pulled something out of order. Oh, there it is. So prior to 2019, when all of this happened in March with Nicole Bowen and Garett and Jason Paladino, this was Ashey's record. Ashey had never had a felony, never any type of violent crime. Everything with her was a driving infraction up until March of 2019. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I said that sounds about right.
Yeah. And I know I think that people need to understand that when I'm listening to other people who aren't really doing their research, they're not, I'm going, oh my gosh, stop saying those things that are not true. Ashey wasn't there. Ashey was not a criminal. She wasn't involved with a Kokomo crew or Derek German or any of them. And I just those rumors need to stop. Because
I can't state for sure, but I'm 99% sure that she didn't know Derek.
No, she has told me that she had heard of him, but she never met him, never knew him.
Yeah, so, I know him, but I know him, but I know she doesn't know him.
And same thing goes with the people from Kokomo, Gabe Ellis, Christy Martin, and all of them. She doesn't know them. In fact, I believe that she met Christy for the first time in prison in passing. I don't know if they were at an intake place or where they were, but they met in passing. But Ashey didn't know anything about her. She didn't even know that she knew Derek German, but she knew. She's like, oh, I've heard that name. I think I've met her, but she didn't know her outside before any of this happened.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to pop that record on there really fast, because it's very frustrating to hear these things. But back in January, Garett was stealing from her. He had stolen rent money. It had gotten to the point where Garett was not allowed at his family's property. And Kevin, do you want to speak on that about your properties?
Yes, I evicted him from mine. I did. He was not allowed on my property at all, to the point that they were staying in my trailer, and she came over to the house, and oh God, she was at the house 45 minutes to an hour. And I had to go out to my truck for something. When I did, I seen him in the truck, and I came inside and they left because he was not allowed on my property whatsoever. I had no use for him, and I'll leave it at that. I believe it was the 1st of January, I evicted him from my trailer.
So Ashley's going back and forth to work. She's getting a ride to and from work because Garett had slashed her tires. And at this point in time, he was threatening, like he was sending text messages, and Ashley was actually forwarding you those messages, wasn't she?
Yes.
And then she has a friend take her home. Friend drops her off, and she goes inside. And then from there, Kevin, I'm going to let you tell the story because you were called and you went.
Yes, I was called and informed of what happened. And I left my house, and on my way out, I grabbed my shotgun with me. And I called the 911, and the 911 call center informed me that all of the law enforcement, all the sheriff's deputies were on a call, and it'd be an hour and a half to 2 hours before anyone could be out there. And I informed them that the trailer was 6 miles away from my house, and I was already on the road with my shotgun heading that way. And if he was there, that I would solve the problem for him. And when I got there, miraculously, a state trooper and a deputy were freed up and met me at my trailer.
And
Garett
gone.
Had
already left, right? Garett had already ran.
Yes, the way it was explained to me was someone drove by and honked, and he thought it was his grandma and ran out and never came back.
So what condition was Ashley in when you got there?
Oh, she had been beat. We had the police there and the ambulance and everything else, and that was when we went in and realized that he had shaved every bit of hair off of his body. There was a full pack he turned the water heater up as high as it'd go in the bathroom. There was a full 8 or 12 pack of douches in the bathroom that had never been there. And a handsaw out of my shed was in the bathroom.
And
we discovered, we didn't know it at the time because she had someone come and check the trailer to make sure that it was still locked up, that he hadn't broke in. And when they came down and checked, they just went and checked the front door, and they didn't notice, because that winter we had a lot of snow, and they didn't notice that the fresh footprints going through the window on the front of the trailer as they walked by. Then when me and Lori was cleaning the trailer out, I went into the closet in the bedroom, and that was where I found where he had laid in wait inside of the closet in the bedroom, hiding, smoking cigarettes. I found where he'd been putting his cigarettes out of my cleaning kit. There were 6 or 8 cigarette butts put out of my cleaning kit where he had laid in wait in the closet.
And now, did the police come in and take photos? Did they take photos inside the trailer that day?
I don't believe so. Did they? They might have took photos of Ashley, but yeah, I know they didn't get all the way back into the bedroom. And it was probably 2 months later when I discovered the closet. When I went in and I just happened to look down and seen him when we were cleaning the trailer out. Ashley might have already been arrested. But we were cleaning the trailer out, and I was selling it because we had moved to a house, and that was when I just happened to go into the bedroom and realized that he had found where he had laid in wait and discovered all the stuff that he had stole, that they were out of my trailer while they were there.
And so he's arrested that same day.
Oh, yes.
Then he's let out 10 days later, less than 10 days.
Yes.
And then there's a restraining order put against him, and he violates it twice.
Yes.
And is rearrested and then let out the same day again.
Yep.
Did you ever talk to Nick about that, Nick McClellan?
Yes, I asked Nick personally why they dropped the charges on Garett, and he informed me that I asked why they dropped the residential entry charges, and he said he informed me that Garett told him he was allowed to be there. And I asked Nick, how can you take the word of someone that's charged with residential entry that they're allowed to be there? Hell, if I break into somewhere, I'm going to tell you I was allowed to be there too, instead of the person that owned the property that evicted them a month earlier.
Well, not only that, but what about whether he was allowed to be there or not, which doesn't sound like he was, that doesn't give him the right to duct tape someone, choke them unconscious, and beat them up.
No.
So, I've never understood that, because those decisions that he made prevented this case from January coming into her trial. Because in this 3-month spree that Garett was on, if Ashey hadn't gotten away from him, she would have been his first strangulation victim.
Yes, in my house, and I'm adamant with what we found in the bathroom after the police left, that he would have cut her up into pieces and tried to dispose the body in pieces.
And I don't think that and see this, and this was never discussed at Ashey's trial. This right here.
Nope.
Among a million other things.
No.
So I am going, Kevin, I don't know. I know you are a workaholic. So that's why I brought you on really early. If you want to stay on, you can. I'm going to go in and read the report from that day and the report from when they arrested Garett. And if you want to stay on, you can, or you can mute yourself and pop in whenever you want.
Okay.
Or you can, it's up to you.
Okay, I might mute myself and listen for a little bit before I go lay down.
Okay.
I wanted to mention that 4 Pit Bulls Across America says he knows Kevin very well and said hi.
Kevin, do you know who 4 Pits is?
I do not know who 4 Pit. I guess if I knew heard the name, I would.
Gunther, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that's what they've called me since 1990.
Well, he knows you then. I don't know his real name, so I can't help you there, but if I find out, I'll let you know who it is actually.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and mute yourself. Now I'm going to read. I'm going to pull these up. These are the arrest reports that it took me forever to get my hands on. And there were photos of Ashey taken that day, but Carroll County will not release them. They have to be subpoenaed or they have to be gotten by a court order. So that just completely demolishes my ability of getting my hands on them. But these are not the clearest in this PowerPoint. PowerPoint tends to blur them, but I am going to read it. So for those of you who are on a phone who want to zoom in on it or screenshot it and zoom in, feel free. But this was the same day that the police were called. Kevin was there. This was the probable cause for Garett's arrest on that day. So Jay Schimmel, being first duly sworn upon his oath, says that on or about January 20th, 2019, in the county of Carroll, the state of Indiana, Garett K. Kurtz, in a rude, insolent, or angry manner, did knowingly or intentionally apply pressure to the throat or neck of Ashey N. Garth in a manner that impeded normal breathing or blood circulation of Ashey N. Garth, all of which is contrary to the form of the statute in such cases made and provided to wit, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Indiana. That verbiage to me is very strange. I, Jay Schimmel, being first duly sworn upon my oath, says that I have probable cause for believing at this time that Garett K. Kurtz committed the crime of count 1, strangulation, a level 6 felony, count 2, domestic battery, a class A misdemeanor in Carroll County, Indiana, on or about January 20th, 2019, by reason of the following facts. I am a Carroll County deputy sheriff. I have reviewed the report of Carroll County Sheriff's deputies, Mitchell Catrone and Stephen Tachkut, concerning an incident that occurred January 20th, 2019, involving Garett Kurtz. The reports
It's
related. It's what? Tachunk?
It's Officer Tachunk.
Tachunk, okay.
Yes.
Okay. On January 20th, 2018, now this is, he had the wrong date put in here. It's January 20th, 2019. Carroll County Sheriff's deputies, Catrone and Kachunk, were dispatched to 1232-28 West 600 North for a report of domestic battery. Dispatch stated that Kevin Hinton called 911, advising that his daughter, Ashley Garth, had been tied up and beaten. Dispatch advised the suspect was identified as Garett K. Kurtz. Dispatch stated that the suspect had left the scene with his grandmother, who was driving a blue Buick passenger car. I'm going to just touch base really quick in here in StreamYard. Is my mic okay, everybody?
It's good right now for me. Every once in a while, you still went down. And
I wonder why.
I don't know. You sound great to me, Amy.
Okay. Let me know if it starts to go out. I don't know why it's plugged. I mean, it's a port. It's plugged in. So dispatch stated that the suspect had left the scene with his grandmother, who was driving a blue Buick passenger car. Deputy Catrone made contact with Ashley and her father. Ashley stated that she was dropped off at her residence by a friend. She stated she entered the residence and observed her residence to be in disarray. She stated she walked towards the rear of the residence and entered her bedroom. She turned on the light, and she stated Garett quickly emerged from the bathroom and attacked her. She stated Garett tackled her to the ground, telling her that he was not kidding about killing her, referencing earlier messages he had sent her. She stated Garett then taped her mouth shut, tied her hands behind her back, and tied her feet. He wrapped pieces of clothing around her mouth to keep the tape on. She stated that he then left her on the ground and walked into the living room and turned on the music to drown out her attempts to scream. Ashley stated she was able to scoot towards the door of the bedroom and get the article off of her face. She screamed for help, and Garett quickly approached her and grabbed her feet and flipped her over. Ashley stated that Garett began to choke her using his hands, and she stated she lost consciousness several times. She stated that every time she regained consciousness, Garett would choke her again. Ashley stated she was confined for approximately 2 hours. She stated Garett walked out of the residence and got in his grandmother's car and left. Ashley stated she was then able to get up and run outside. Ashley stated she then went to the neighbor's house and called her father for help. Ashley stated she was in fear for her life and felt like she was going to die. She stated that she was spitting up and gagging on her own blood, and stated her pain as a 10 on a scale of 1 out of 10. Deputy Catron took pictures of Ashley and noticed redness around her wrists, ankles, and neck. She was provided a battery affidavit and filled out the same with the advisement of the false informing statute. Ashley informed deputies that Garett's jacket was inside the residence by the front window. Deputy Tachuk observed the jacket and located Garett's identification card in a wallet that was in the jacket pocket. Ashley informed the deputy that Garett's grandmother lived on Springboro Road. Deputies located the residence and spoke with an elderly woman. She advised Garett was in the shower. The deputies made contact with Garett and placed him under arrest. Deputy Tachunk interviewed Garett at the jail after he had been read his Miranda warnings. He stated that he, in fact, sent angry, threatening text messages to Ashley. He stated that she had been out all night, so he stayed at a neighbor's house waiting for her to come home. He stated that at some point he went back to the residence and fell asleep for a while and woke up around the time Ashley returned home. Garett stated he confronted Ashley about where she had been and what she had been doing. He said this resulted in an argument and he decided to leave. He asked Ashley to use her phone because his was dead and she refused. So he took her phone and she began attacking him, biting his back and hitting him several times. Garett had red marks on both hands and forearms, as well as red marks under his right eye. He also had a bite mark on his back. He explained that while Ashley was attacking him, he defended himself by pushing her off and admitting to hitting her a couple of times. He also admitted to putting his hands around her neck, but denied applying pressure until she lost conscious. He denied tying her up. I affirm under penalty of perjury, as specified in etc., that the foregoing representations are true, dated this January 21st, 2019. So, first of all, Kevin, if you're unmuted, what do you make? What do you make of Garett's version of that? And the bite marks on the back, Ashley has said, yes, I did effing bite him, because when he drug her by her feet, he then scooped her up and put her over his shoulder to carry her out to the living room where the stereo was. And she said she had gotten the garment off of her face and she bit him on the back, but she was tied up.
I can see that happening.
Well, I mean, based on the fact that he's serving 10 years for strangling to death 2 other people, what are the odds that Ashley's version of this story is not true and his version is?
I'm saying 0. I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth.
No, and she wasn't out all night. She was not at her house because she was afraid of him.
The night before, earlier in the day, her and the person she stayed with were at our house till probably 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. She was here with me and my wife.
And this is another situation where Garett gaslights everybody. He gaslights everybody with like he fell asleep waiting for her to come home. No, he had been threatening her. And prior to that, she had to have a ride to and from work because he slashed her tires.
Yes.
All 4 of them on her truck. So does anybody, before I go on, do we have any more, do we have any questions about that situation or stories that need to be debunked based on, what's been out there on the YouTube streets and what's been rumored? Cherie, let me know. And is my mic still okay?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Under Your Scars commented, yeah, you need a saw for that, Garett. So I'm not sure which part she was referring to, but what bugs me is Nick's answer to why they dismissed those charges, because he said he had a right to be there. Well, that doesn't mean he has a right to try to kill her, choke her and all that. It's an idiotic answer, Nick.
Well, I have, when I was communicating with him, and we'll get into all of that as we go down the line, continuing to recover all of this. As far as this incident goes, Garett, when I asked Garett about this situation specifically, he tried to tell me that the plastic and all the stuff with the saw in the bathroom was because he's a carpenter and he was remodeling the bathroom.
That's a complete lie.
We know. Garett's a carpenter.
He tried to be a plumber, but yet after he clogged the toilet up, then I'm sorry, I don't have a filter, but he shit in the toilet and finally had to break down after he couldn't get it. What he broke fixed, had to call his dad to come fix it.
Well, and I mean, you saw the setup, and you firmly believe that he was going to kill her.
Oh, I don't have a doubt in my mind.
Okay. So at this point, Garett goes over and begins to stay at the Paladinos with Nicole. Now, if when we get to Garett's interrogation video, Garett explains whether, and this is the hard part. Garett is another Keegan Kline. You cannot believe a word that comes out of his mouth. So you have to literally research. You have to figure out what can be true and what is not true. But in his interrogation video, and the only reason this is more than likely the truth is because Nicole Bowen and Garett actually met prior to January when they were both in work release. And I don't know if Ashey was back from Florida yet or not, but Garett and Nicole had met during work release. And we're going to get into all of these characters. So if you guys are really into this case, start taking notes because there's a lot of names. So where the Paladino compound is, directly in front of that, there was another trailer. There's now like a barn style type house. But right there on that corner in front of the Paladinos was a trailer where a boy or a guy named Russell Stout and his brother Kyle Stout lived. So Garett and Ashey were over there prior to January for some sort of a get together or a cookout. And Nicole arrived with a date. And Garett and Nicole knew they knew each other and secretly went off to speak and ended up exchanging phone numbers. From that point, Garett started sneaking over to Russell's and the Paladinos to hang out with Nicole. So when Ashey kicked him out at the beginning of January, that's where Garett went. If you listen to him in his interrogation video, when they ask him where he lives, he says he's living with a friend off of 600. They don't like giving names. They don't like, they just like to be shady. And that's what he said, living with a friend off 600. Well, that's where him and Nicole were living. Let me see here. During the communication that I had with Garett about this case, and he kept saying that Ashey wasn't good for him. And these messages that I have on the screen, this is one of the messages at the time that I was communicating with Garett was when he had been transported out of the Pendleton prison, which is where he was incarcerated for the murder of Nicole. But he was also then charged a year or so after the murder of Nicole for a murder that happened prior to Nicole of a man by the name of Ray Hainish. So he was transported out of the Pendleton prison to be brought back to the area to go into discussions about a plea deal. Well, the White County jail supposedly was overcrowded, so they didn't put him in the White County jail, which was where that case was out of. They temporarily housed him in the Newton County jail. So that message system is very different than the GTL Connect with the prisons. So I was communicating with him while he was there at the Newton County jail. And I asked him why he felt he kept saying Ashey wasn't good for him. And when I asked him why, this was the response that he gave me. Why was Ashey not good for you? And do you keep in contact with her little boy? He said, leave or get clean, she'd tell me. She'd keep her son from me. And no, unfortunately, I have not spoken to her son since 2019, and it breaks my heart. Well, first of all, Garett was never anything to Ashey's son. And if you consider someone who's telling you you have to leave or get clean not good for you, what does that say about Garett? And Ashey packed up her whole life to move away from this area to try to get her life back on track, and made the mistake of letting Garett back in her life when she returned home because he had just gotten out of jail and was clean. And they thought that they would be good together, sober and clean. And that just was not the case. And I know in October, prior to this, she was sporting 2 black eyes. There was an incident where her arm was broken. Hey Kevin, did you ever witness or see any of the abuse from Garett? Hey Travis.
If I'd have seen him put his hands on her, I'd have killed him right then and there.
Did you ever see her with black eyes?
I've seen her with bruises and stuff. I did not like the kid. And it kills me because I know his family very well.
What is his family like?
I have no use for his father, but his cousins, he's got 3 cousins that were basically my brothers growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was his father. I met his father when he turned, Mark turned 18 and started coming. He was raised Jehovah's Witness. I think he was homeschooled and went off the deep end and started hanging out at the river with his aunt and uncle, which was my buddies, mom and dad, and all his buddies was out there getting drunk and stuff all the time. And Mark's basically a drunk.
Was he abusive towards Garett?
He was abusive towards everybody.
Was he? Were you ever aware of Mark Kurtz dating Talitha Beckley?
No.
Okay.
Once I got older and we quit camping at the river, I'd see Mark every 4 or 5 years. Would run into him in the gas station.
Well, I have just through communicating with Garett. Garett ended up. This is a crazy situation that I found myself in, but I did it for Ashey, because I think what needs to be very clear here is that from January until mid-March, March 25th to be exact, this was more of like a stalking, threatening situation that Ashey was in. And not only was she getting that from Garett, but when Garett started dating Nicole, she was getting that from Nicole as well. But you kind of have to weigh the scales of reality in a normal world. Just because someone posts something that is directed towards you that's either shitty or aggressive, number one, doesn't mean that you want that person dead. Number two, it happens all the freaking time. People don't, boys cheat on girls all the time. Girls go at each other over boys all the time. And this is similar to what that was. But Ashey, just put yourself in Ashey's situation when it comes to he's living over at this house with this girl. In what sane world would Ashey be over there hanging out ever? She wouldn't be. That's simply the truth. So, and I know that Ashey has made it very clear that she was somewhat fearful of Garett, especially when he was around Jason Paladino, because around Jason Paladino, Garett would try to come across like he was the Hulk. He could do whatever he wanted, and he had the backing to do it. Is that how, Kevin, do you have an opinion about that as far as what Ashey has said? Oh, I think I lost him. Oh, he might come back in. I think we lost him. So let me move. I'll see if he pops back in here. So just to recap who Jason Paladino is. I know that a lot of people are talking about the Paladinos. I've been talking about them for 2 years. He lived over there off of Hodges Drive. He sold meth. And he pretty much, according to Garett, told he became kind of like the boss of telling everybody what to do when his Uncle Mark went to prison. Now, his Uncle Mark is Mark Paladino, not Mark Kurtz, two different Marks. This is Talitha. Now, the interesting thing that I didn't get into the last time is Talitha used to date Garett's dad years ago. That's how Garett knows Talitha. But then Talitha has always been, let me skip through these really fast. Talitha has always been mixed up with the Paladinos. So here's kind of a quick chart. Mark and Talitha have pretty much always been a thing. But this picture up here at the top is a picture from when the two of them were arrested together, breaking and entering in Pulaski County. Mark, because they're both habitual offenders. So in Indiana and in most states, if you're an habitual offender, you will end up getting charged additional time for your prior bad acts. Mark had obviously more than Talitha, so he was held. She was let out on bond. She went back to the compound, and her and Jason Paladino, who's over here on the left with the yellow arrow coming up. This is Jason Paladino. He is Mark's nephew. Jason and Talitha become a thing after Mark went to prison. Then at the beginning of January, Garett and Nicole start staying over there at the Paladino compound. So there's the four of them in the front trailer. And I showed the video in the last live of the front trailer. Terry Smothers is another name that we talked about. He lived in the second trailer behind the first one on Hodges Drive. So the four of them are living over there together. Now we're going to go back to sorry, my little thingy here. Now, trying to keep this in chronological order. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. So you had January 21st when Garett was arrested for the assault. Even though in the probable cause affidavit, they listed the domestic battery, they didn't list a breaking and entering, but the strangulation. Ultimately, he was only charged with strangulation. And he had a hearing the very next day on January 22nd. This case stayed open on Garett for almost a year, if not more. And that hearing on the 22nd was the only hearing he ever had. February the 16th and February the 21st, Garett, it's right here. Garett violated the restraining order twice. He violated the no contact order. This was filed. Now look at the date that this was filed. March 27th. This was not filed until the day before Nicole Bowen died. But when you come down here to when it actually happened, the charges, you can see right here in gray on the left-hand side, the date. 2/16 and it's either 21 or 22. My glasses won't. Cherie, can you see that better than me?
I was typing in the chat. Where are you looking?
I'm in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Down where it says charges, right below where it says charges in the gray that's underlined. Is that February 16th?
Yeah.
And February 21st?
Yes.
That's when the restraining order or the no contact order was violated, but it wasn't filed until over a month later. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
Amy,
true. Yeah.
the chat is asking you to remove the post that's up there because they can't see all the document. There
Okay.
you go. Thank you.
Yep, there it is. So you guys can, if you go to my case and you look up Garett's cases, the Carroll County strangulation case, you can review it. It was too much to put into the PowerPoint because it goes on and on and on and on. There's multiple transport orders because Garett was arrested April 1st for the murder of Nicole. And up until that point, once he was in Newton County, there were transport orders put in to bring him back to Carroll County to face these charges. And every single time it was postponed and the transport order was canceled. And when we get further down the line and I start to go through all of the GTL messages from Garett, you're going to see that he flat out tells me that Nick McClelland and his grandpa are really good friends and that he knew that he was told he had nothing to worry about. That came from Garett. It's in writing, and I will show it when I start going through all of those messages. So Travis says, oh, I think Travis is talking about the fact that DOC hasn't updated the consecutive sentences information. Right. So once he's done serving for Nicole, then it will update because he'll then begin to serve for Ray. Which and the thing, Garett took Ray's life before Nicole, 14 days before. No, 16 days before. Sorry. So this right here. So Garett gets out after the restraining orders, and we're gonna go over the Ray encounter, some of the documents from Ray's case, probably the next live that we do, but on March 13th. Oh, okay. Kevin's backstage again. Let me pull him back on. Hey, we lost you.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. I'm not technology savvy.
That's okay. So if you've been listening, do you have anything to add to any of this?
I missed some of it. I was trying to get everything set back up so I could comment.
Okay.
I completely shut it out and had to reload everything back up.
Were you there or was Toby there when the one time that Garett broke the restraining order?
Toby was there and seen him and called me because he left and called me and let me know he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I hopped right in the vehicle, didn't tell anybody, and pulled up, and I parked sideways in my driveway, just slammed it into park, hopped out, and as I was walking up to the front door, I heard Lori holler from the truck. He's running across the back. And I took off across and I'm not a fast man. I do not run anymore. And I called up to him about 4 trailers down over a railing, and he was straddling the railing, and I yanked him off of the railing. And the dog there at the place he was at must have had big piles of dog shit because I kicked him while he was rolling around the dog shit. Then I went back to the truck and called the police.
I love it. I love it. And he was let out the same day. Now, did they arrest him that day, or did they wait
I don't
until
know.
he violated it again?
I don't know. Someone got him out of the valley because they couldn't
Okay.
find him, and they arrested him later. But yeah, he was by the time they got there, and they had to get by me, so he had to have been in a trunk because he wasn't in the back seat of any vehicle that went by because I stood at my vehicle. And I told him, it's like, that's it. I'm done. I'm calling the law. No, don't. And I was over it.
So hippie chick said rolling around in shit. Yeah, that's priceless. I love it. So we just lost him again. Or did we? Yeah, we did. So that is mid-February when these violating the no contact order happens. And Ashley ends up giving up the trailer that Kevin and her mom own, just because she just wasn't safe there, and she moved back in with her dad, Toby. And so that was mid-February. We're going to get into what transpired the week of March 13th, because we know that on March 14th, hold on, let me get to it. I'm on the wrong one. We know on March 14th, these 3 were arrested together in Ray Hanish's vehicle. And this is Kyle Stout on the left. And then this picture down here at the bottom is the side of the 6045 Paladino compound, the first trailer. And where the yellow arrow is on the right is right there in front of that trailer is where Russell and Kyle Stout lived. So Garett and Nicole were going kind of back and forth between the Paladinos and the Stouts, but mainly staying at the Paladinos. And I think their welcome got worn out at the Stouts, or Garett was told that Nicole couldn't come back there because they were accusing her of stealing. And after all of this transpired, Kevin, do you want to get into what Russell told you?
Yeah, he told me that it was either a text or voicemail that was sent to him from Garett the day after, or the morning after Nicole was killed, that I took care of our problem, or our problem was solved, something along that lines.
Did Russell tell you why? What the problem was? Did he go into detail?
No, but I heard later on down the line through people that it was because Nicole had stole heroin off of Russell.
Okay. Some people in the chat, Kevin, are asking you, what's the story of Mark Kurtz? I think they want to know a little bit more about Garett's dad.
He's a piece of shit.
Oh, shoot. That bad, huh?
Yeah, he's just a piece of shit. Like, I mean, I know he did work for people, plumbing work. He's supposed to be a great plumber, and he did work, man of God, Jehovah's Witness, did work for people and got paid up front to do the work and never did the work. And another real close friend of mine got hay off of his grandparents for their horses and went picked the hay up and fed the horses the hay and never come back to pay for the hay, and like thousands of dollars each time. And he's a piece of shit.
No, there's the story. So when these 3 are arrested together, Kyle and Garett and Nicole, they're arrested, and well, Kyle is actually in the back seat of the car. The vehicle that they're in belonged to Ray Hainish. This was March 14th when they were arrested. The death, the autopsy report has Ray Hainish's death on March 13th, the day before. So they're in Ray Hainish's vehicle.
But are you adamant, actually 100% positive that was Kyle that was in the vehicle with him?
Yes, it was Kyle. Yeah, based on the police report, we know that now because he showed an ID. So it was Kyle.
So he showed an ID that said Kyle with his picture on it.
Uh-huh. Garett is the one. Go ahead.
Don't think that Russell could have had an ID with his picture on it that said Kyle Stout?
He could have. I always, everything that I've come across has always said that Garett and Russell were more friends than Garett and Kyle.
Because I mean, from what I know, I had a run in with Kyle before Kyle went to jail and was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And from what I know, Kyle's got his shit together now. But it's from what I know, I think Kyle pretty much, once he got on the meds and stuff, got his shit together.
Was that before or after?
What, before the murders?
Yeah.
No, that was before. That was when we still lived in the trailer park because Kyle went completely 100% batshit crazy. Russell was in jail and Kyle was staying at the trailer, and Kyle was like cut trees down and was digging bomb shelters in the front yard and shit. Everybody down there, my boss lived across the way, and we'd laugh at work on the weekends about the new bomb shelters, a tree that was cut down to make for bomb shelter in the front yard.
Well, all I have to go on is the police report, and it says Kyle Stout, and they let him walk away. They would let him walk away on foot. He wasn't arrested, but Garett and Nicole were arrested, and there was methamphetamines in the car. There was a syringe, and there was a scale. And they're both arrested, and they're both taken to the Tippecanoe County Jail. At the jail, Nicole is searched again, and I believe she had additional meth in her underwear. And at that point in time, I know for a fact, based on the police report, which we're going to go into that next time. She does say everything belonged to Garett, that it was all his. And during this night, and Garett disputes this, but I contacted Lafayette and Tippecanoe. They confirmed to me that this vehicle on March 14th was impounded. Garett had no license. Garett was out on bond for violating the no contact order, not once, but twice. He also had the pending charges of the strangulation 6 in Carroll County. He was driving with no license. There was a scale in the car, meth in the car, syringe in the car. They both bonded out that same night. And their bonds were only, I believe, $250 a piece. And Nicole used her vehicle as collateral to borrow money from Jason Paladino's stepmom or dad's ex-girlfriend, Chris Spencer. She gave up the title to get the $500 to bail herself out and to bail Garett out. So I've always had a problem with the fact that they were able to bond out that same day. Just going to touch base on these two because these two are getting ready to enter the scene. After the arrest of the three of them in Ray's car. Oh yeah, you want me to go back on that, Cherie? So yeah, when they were arrested, when they were pulled over initially, Garett gave his brother's name, his younger brother's name. And when the officer even states in the report that clearly this is not the same person. So the cop called him out on it right away. And Garett ended up saying, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not. I'm a liar." And they took his ass to jail. So they got out the same night, and that was on March 14th. Ray's body was discovered on March 17th. Go ahead, Kevin. Cherie or Kevin? Go ahead.
Oh, it was me, I think. Streets of Bakerfield wants to know if Kevin knows whether Nicole was a CI.
Oh hell, I have no idea. We moved 6 miles away from the trailer park. When we moved into the trailer park, it was nice. And an old man that lived beside us died, and he was the last piece of goodness in that trailer park, and we got the hell out when the getting was good.
I think, and you know, you can only take this for what it's worth, but, and I'll probably repeat this 1,000 times going forward into more of these lives on this case. But I'm going to end the night with the infamous letter. But Ashley was told. Now you have to understand all of this that I just talked about. The arrest in the car, Ray Hainish not only being killed on March 13th, his body being found on March 17th. By this point, on the 17th, they knew that Garett, Nicole, and Kyle were in Ray's vehicle on the 14th because they had the vehicle impounded. Garett took off with Nicole. They went out to Jeff Sneath's house, which is clear out in, where is it at? It'll come to me. It's Eastern Indiana. Crawfordsville. Yes, Crawfordsville. So we're going to get into Ray's case along with this because we didn't cover Ray's case the first time because it was still an open case. Since then, it's now become part of this case. But Ashley was not aware of any of this. She wasn't with Garett. She was not aware of any of this going on. She wasn't aware of the arrest. She wasn't aware of a death that Garett was involved in. She had no idea. It was after all of this transpired that Garett told her that he was in the car with her after this happened, telling her he had to do it. Jason made him do it because she was a snitch and she had agreed to do a controlled buy on Jason Paladino. Now, whether that makes her a CI, I don't know. I don't know if that is true. I do know from the police report, she basically put Garett Kurtz on Front Street saying everything in the car belonged to him. And there's another case that we've since, that I was brought to my attention. Got to give Streets of Bakersfield the clap back on that because there's another case that we're going to go over where Nicole absolutely is discussed as being a CI. So that, and we weren't aware of that the first time around covering this case. So we're going to get into a lot of new things that we didn't know the first time around. But Ray's case is going to be one of them that we're going to pull into this because it all kind of goes together. But after Ray's case, you know, you've got Jasmine Parker and Chris Mathis, and I am no fan of these two at all. However, I still keep hearing these two being thrown around and listed in with this Kokomo crew. It's not true. They did not live anywhere near Kokomo. They lived out in Kentland in the northern part of Indiana in Newton County. And Garett only knew Chris Mathis. He did not know Jasmine. Ashley didn't know either one of them until the evening of March 27th. She had never met them. So I want to make that clear. Streets of Bakerfield. I don't know. Travis, can you attest to that? I'm going to see if Travis responds. I do know an FBI. There was an FBI agent that showed up there, and also Dwayne Datsman, who did investigate in the Delphi case. He was one of the first ones on scene, and I believe we have a deposition from him, and we have his trial testimony.
Travis asked you to say it one more time.
I was asked if when Nicole's body was found, that an FBI agent showed up there to either investigate or identify her body. Does that mean that she was on someone's radar as being an informant? And Kathy S. Hi. So Kathy, I'm going to wait for when Travis responds, I'll pop his message up on the screen. But Kathy S., you said Chris knows about Delphi. So I know what you mean when you say that, but you can't. So Chris Mathis really only knows what Garett was feeding him, okay, in jail. Garett was trying to make nice in a lot of ways with a lot of people in the jails, because the story about Ray Hainish had already broke, and Ray Hainish being a gay male. Garett was having a lot of problems in the prison because of this case, the catfishing of Ray Hainish, et cetera, et cetera. In this case with Nicole, Garett had completely thrown Chris Mathis, who wasn't even there in the trailer at this time that he killed Nicole. Chris wasn't even there. Garett spent 3 hours dictating to Detective Rowe how Chris Mathis is the one who killed Nicole in complete detail, all of it. We're gonna review Garett's interrogation video. So Garett was trying to throw some weight around in the prison because he was getting labels. And initially he was trying to threaten Chris because Chris knew that he didn't kill Nicole, that Garett did. Chris Mathis helped Garett dispose of the body. And Garett wanted everyone to believe that the Paladinos ordered or had Delphi done. When Chris talks about knowing about Delphi, he's talking about what Garett told him. Garett, and the problem with Garett in that sense is we've got him recorded twice, once with me, once on Open Secrets, pointing the finger, or I'm sorry, 3 times, once with me, pointing the finger at Paladinos. He's on Open Secrets, pointing the finger at saying that Michaela Babcock and Ashley saw a video or something. That's not true. And you know it's not true because he follows that up with, on the recording on Open Secrets, he states the girls were stabbed so many times they stopped counting. We know now that's not true. When you listen to his interrogation on April 1st, in Nicole Bowen's case, he literally throws Nicole and her heroin dealer under the bus for the Delphi case. You can't believe anything. That's the problem with Garett. And I don't think that, I think Chris only knows when he says you know what happened in Delphi. I think that he was referring to snitches. That's the way I take it. Is that you know what happened in Delphi? What happened to Nicole was because she was considered a snitch. We're going to get into all of that. We have to get into it. Nicole is the victim here. Snitch or no snitch, she is the victim in this case. Second to her is Ashey. Ashey is also a victim. And I just think that it's time that people start, when you're popping in and out of lives and you are listening to different people's takes on things. That's why if I'm saying something to you, I'm putting the evidence on the screen or I'm telling you where you can find it, because it's taken me this long to even be able. I mean, there's still things that I'm, having to go back and correct that I have found out, or things that I've come across that I'm going to present this time around. This is why we're doing it again. But there's always more to the story, and it's not, and just because you hear a name in the same sentence with another name does not necessarily mean these people are connected. It doesn't necessarily mean that they know something that they're not telling. But I do not believe for 1 minute that Chris Mathis has real and factual information about the Delphi case. I just don't. And do I think that Talitha Beckley does? Possibly. Do I think that Jason Paladino may? Possibly. Do I think that this case and Delphi is running a tight race with the meth dealers and possibly people who practice, Norse paganism? Possibly. You really still can't, even after Richard Allen's trial, you still can't take anything off the table. So Travis says, I don't recall the FBI agent coming out to see the body, but could be wrong on that. She could be a CI, whether FBI comes out or not. Many reasons why FBI would come out. Now, I know when we get to Jasmine Parker's interrogation video, you're going to find out in that video, she is a CI. That's made very clear. And I'm sure that Chris, I would almost bet that Chris Mathis didn't even know that. And these two right here, Jasmine and Chris, were a couple. They lived in the trailer out there in Kentland together. That's something that Chris didn't want anyone to know. And that's exactly right. Who is that? 2 ears and 1 mouth. Absolutely. She says, or he says, I can't imagine Kurtz or Mathis being able to keep their mouths shut. If they know who actually did it, they might know the story, but not who. Even if Garett did it, he would have to tell people. I agree. I think, and I've said that numerous times. I'm not saying that I know why Garett Kurtz became a suspect. And, Doug Carter and them really put their stamp of approval on him being a person of interest when they came out April 19th with the young bridge guy sketch. And Garett was arrested on April 1st, and Garett in his interrogation interview starts throwing out the Delphi case I'm telling you, if Garett had any true, real information and he thought that he could save his own ass by one day in prison, he would be screaming it from the rooftops. I mean, he's already thrown everybody around him under the bus. So if he was going to be taken out by this at this point, it would have already have happened. So he's probably thinking that he's pretty safe. And I know that when he was transported from Pendleton to Newton County, after being in Newton County for a while, he was eventually transported to White County Jail. At the same time that he was in White County Jail, Mark Paladino was there awaiting trial. They were in there together. I don't know if anything ever happened in there between the two of them, because you have to remember Garett threw Mark Paladino's nephew, Jason, under the bus in Nicole's case. What a Glass says Garett matches exactly the young version of Bridge Guy drawing. His GF matches his girlfriend matches. Oh, no, she doesn't. Again, you must be coming in late because, again, Ashey Garth did not live in Indiana when Delphi happened. Who is GF?
I think that's who he means. Good thing to tell him that she wasn't living there because it was true at that time.
Yeah. See that, and that, I mean, that's the crap I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Right.
I think he's thinking his girlfriend, and he's not catching the fact that she was like 1,100 miles away when Libby and Abby were killed.
And that's another reason why I keep reiterating all of this, because like to say that Ashey matches the first Bridge Guy sketch, or that Ashey, that's ridiculous. And you know, that's why I said we were going to discuss Ashley's mugshot photo. At the time that Ashey was arrested, you have to realize that she had been beaten. She was, and this is again another chunk of evidence that was not presented in her defense at her trial. She was beaten on March 25th, taken out to Jasmine's. Garett leaves her there. She had no change of clothes. She had been in, what do you call it? What kind of, why are my words just leaving me tonight? What school was she in? She was in cosmetology school for hair. So she had been clipping away at her hair, dyeing it, doing different things. And there is absolutely no doubt that Ashey Garth looked a flippin' mess when she was arrested on April 3rd after going in. But prior to that, you look at that mugshot, you can definitely see that that mugshot does not really reflect who Ashey is at all, because this is Ashey. Travis Williams says, good point. Travis Williams says, all tweakers are a CI the moment they become arrested. Garett Kurtz was a CI in his first interview. Now, did law enforcement consider them CIs? No, they didn't. Garett Kurtz did cooperate, but wasn't confidential to save 5 years. Yeah, Ashey signed over temporary custody to her grandma. There was never no losing of custody. There was never no anyone taking custody or the court stepping in and taking Ashley's son. Did Garett know KK? I've never been able, Bizo Jones, I've never been able to find a link. I've heard, but everybody in these cases claim that everybody's connected. I just can't prove that. Thank you, under your scars. Yeah, put we're going to have special emojis here soon. Some fun emojis. Maud is asking for you guys to put a bright icon in front of your question so it's noticed, please. 4 Pits of America. Thank you so much for saying that. Ashley will always be a sweetheart. She just got caught in the wrong crowd. Absolutely. Wrong crowd. Tried to break free. People were desperate, and she was literally the pawn. Indy, Cindy, how many of them are related? What related to who? V says, I agree, V. Thank you for that. Let's not judge a girl on her mugshot like it's the person's lowest moment. They aren't going to look their best. No. And if you watch that video of her interrogation, you know, she wasn't all together. Kevin, do you have something was that you who came in?
Wasn't me.
Okay. Indy, Cindy, you said by blood. Who related who by blood? Four Pits said Ashley was baited totally. Oh, I mean, Indy, Cindy, I don't think any of them are really related by blood other than the Paladinos. You know, you've got Derek German, who's related to Libby. Christy Martin is Tina Rodell's sister. So there's a whole bunch of people who are, you know,
Did you say? Did you say Christy Martin is Tina Rodell's sister?
Yes.
Tina Rodell from Flora?
Yeah, I believe so. Tina Rodell, who is Megan Allen's mom.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I grew up high school partying with her brother Jason, with Tina's little brother Jason. There's another brother, Troy, that lost a leg that I used to work concrete with like 30 years ago.
Yeah, Tina Rodell, the Tina Rodell that I'm talking about, she's the one who, right at the very beginning of the Delphi case, came forward and said that her daughter was out there with a bunch of people from Kokomo.
Yeah, that's probably the same Tina Rodell because they were all over. Flora's closer to the Kokomo area.
Yeah, and now Christy Martin is out. And Derek didn't do any time for them going down together, but Christy Martin is now out, and it's my understanding that her and Greeno are living together.
Her and Anthony Greeno?
Yeah, do you know him?
Let's just say if I ever see him, that I will probably go to jail because of him threatening my mother.
Why? Why did he threaten your mom?
Over some shit that went on after my older sister passed away. He took my sister for a bunch of bail money for her fiance, and then he threatened my mother at the courthouse. And I have a lot of pent up rage.
Do you now? Okay, did Greeno ever live over there off of 600 or Hodges Drive?
Not that I know of. Not when I was down there.
Okay, because he had told me at one time that he owned property over there.
Yeah, when I lived down there, I was still on Facebook, and there was a Facebook page, something about I hate Anthony Greeno. And it was full of all of his scams. Like people all over the country was posting the scams he was doing.
Oh, wow. All right, well, I don't want to get caught up in that. So let me see here. Where are we? Okay, so this is I know we went over this last time. This is Jasmine Parker's trailer, um, out in Kentland. It is literally out like in the middle of nowhere. Now, this is Mikey Hiddle. We didn't get to him last time. Mikey Hiddle is from Newton County. I believe he runs around Jasper County a lot too, I believe. So I've communicated with him. He's been in a very bad car accident. He broke his back. So I've kind of lost touch with him, got in touch with him. I think he's really still on the fence about his loyalty to Jasmine Parker and doing the right thing. He grew up with Jasmine. And when Garett showed up, Garett took Ashey out to Jasmine's claiming he wanted to get tattoos from Chris Mathis. And when they were done, he was going to take her home. Well, it ended up being an all-night thing. And the next morning when Ashey woke up, Mikey Hiddle was already there. And Jasmine had called him wanting him to come over to give Garett a ride to Delphi, which was about an hour away, to get meth. So Mikey reported to me, and I have it, it's on a recording, where he said he had never met Garett before, he had never met Ashey before, that when they were leaving, that Ashey was really upset. She wanted to leave. She wanted to go home. They were arguing, but he said he didn't know them, so he didn't know what it was about, and he didn't ask. Him and the story, Garett eventually tells Ashey, "We're going to go to the gas station. We're going to come back, pick you up, and you can go with us, and I'll take you home." They never come back. And during that drive, Mikey Hiddle explained to me, he also explained on an interview that he did on Criming Shame a couple years ago, which Ashey didn't know any of this. She didn't know anything about Mikey Hiddle and Mikey Hiddle's story, because Mikey Hiddle was never interviewed by Ashey's defense attorney, never once. He was interviewed by the state multiple times. He's the one who went to the Jasper County Police Department and said, "I think I know who killed this girl." And they had him get Garett on the phone. He is the one that made Garett believe that he was willing to buy Nicole Bowen's car, and he was on his way to meeting him, and the police intercepted Garett. He's the one that Garett sat in the car with him for an hour on the way to Delphi, talking about him being arrested with this girl she snitched on him about drugs. This is the guy who, when they get to Delphi, Talitha gets in his car with him, and Garett is in his car, and they're pulling out, and Nicole Bowen pulls in because Jason Paladino and Talitha Beckley knew Garett was coming there, and they called and lured Talitha to the trailer. She pulled in, Garett gets out, gets in her car, and then the four of them end up spending the entire evening out at Mikey Hiddle's house, where Garett is going in the bathroom with Nicole, who is a heroin addict, and providing her heroin. This is a guy who was on the state's witness list, showed up to testify, was never put on the stand, and sent home. Yeah, Tyler French. Tyler French does look like the young British guy sketch. If someone's got a picture for pitch, you might. There's a picture of Tyler French and Megan Allen and a whole bunch of people on the bridge at like between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning on February 13th, because they had camped out there the night before. If someone's got that picture, can you send it to me? Four Pit says, all those pictures my brother took were at Tyler French's stepdad's house. Right. He lived down the street, right? If you have them, can you share them with me? I'm going to drop my email in there. So this was Mikey Hittle. This was somebody else who was never talked to. The recording that Detective wrote, there was a recording that was taken of him on the phone with Garett that day. And Garett was telling him what he did. Not him and Ashley, what he did. And it was recorded, and Detective Rowe plays portions of that call in Garett's first interview on April 1st. And that was never brought up and played at Ashley's trial. Garett's 3-hour first interrogation video was never played at trial, nor was it transcribed, and his second interview was never played at Ashley's trial or transcribed. So that's who Mikey Hittle is. So the day of March 27th, which was a Wednesday, or I'm sorry, it was March 28th, early afternoon. These were the three people who had the issue with Nicole. Talitha was living at the compound. Jason was living at the compound. Nicole had been living there with Garett. But Nicole was kicked off the property the week before her death. And at this stage in the game, Talitha is not only sleeping with Jason Paladino, she's also sleeping with Garett. Garett shows up that day thinking that he's just getting meth. And I think one of the most honest statements that he's ever written is he said, yes, Jason ordered it to be done, but I didn't know it was going to happen that day. So does that mean, and based on the play out of that whole entire day, that almost seems very real that Garett went out there. Garett didn't know Mikey Hittle. Why would Garett take Mikey Hittle out there to pick up meth if he thought he was going out there because he was going to be doing this? You got to use your common sense. I believe Garett showed up at the Paladino compound thinking that he was going to get meth, and Jason said, this shit's got to be done now because I don't trust her. She's going to snitch. And we're going to get into other aspects of that and why that was probably a believable assumption on Jason Paladino's part. When we get into the police reports and we get into this other case, doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean that Nicole's not a victim, but none of this adds up to this being a three-way conspiracy between Jason, Garett, and Ashley. This was a conspiracy between Jason, Talitha, and Garett. And that conspiracy charge is what did Ashley in. And really the only thing that convicted her were the words of Garett Kurtz and transfer DNA after a physical confrontation with Nicole. And we're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into the DNA. We're going to get into all of that. But not tonight, guys. I think we're going to leave it right there right now and see if you guys have anything you want to ask Kevin, or if you just want to chat for a minute. What a glass. What is Garett's relationship to Ron Logan? I believe that I believe that Garett's dad or grandpa were friends with Ron Logan. So as a young teen, mid-teen, Garett was over there doing work on Ron Logan's farm, helping with the animals, and became
Yeah,
very familiar with him.
I'm pretty sure Mark and Ron were horse traders. They
Did you
both
know
had horses.
did you did you know Ron Logan very well?
Yeah, I played cards with him in the wintertime when I poured concrete.
And what's your opinion of him?
I thought he's a great guy. I mean, he drank a lot. At that time he was still working, and he'd work all night at the maintenance at the hog plant. Then he'd come in and spend half the morning drinking at the bar that we played cards at in the morning when it was raining or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, I got
What
along
was
I got
Garett
along great with Ron.
did he have problem with, women that you know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did Garett ever introduce Ashley to Ron Logan? No. Ashley's never met Ron Logan. Um, Streets of Bakerfield is asking Kevin, if you said that, Ron Logan worked at Packers?
Yeah, he was maintenance there on night shift and rendering. I
Are
think that's
you
where he retired from.
are you aware of Ashley ever knowing Ron Logan? Because Ashley doesn't seem to think she knows who he is.
Not that I know of. When I knew Ron, Ashley was in middle school, and she middle school, high school. Then when I started ironworking 20 years ago, I quit. I don't even go to bars anymore. It'd been years since I'd seen Ron. I didn't even actually know he was dead till I seen this stuff about the girls, and they're talking about Ron and said he died of COVID.
Do you, what bars did he used to frequent?
I've hung out with him at JC's.
Have you ever? I'm probably going to get into something I shouldn't, but did you ever get into? Did you ever run into the Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall?
Nope,
Okay.
never heard the names.
Okay. Do you want to? I know we talked about this yesterday, and just to jump out of this case, just really quick, for you know, one of the reasons when you it's hard to explain when you're trying to help someone who has been overly convicted, wrongfully convicted, and you start to learn the ins and outs of, and I'm no professional, I'm no lawyer, but when you start to learn the ins and outs of the way the system works, especially for somebody who's in prison, you do become kind of hardened to, how not every inmate in prison is a violent offender, a killer, or a horribly bad person. And the process of, when there's evidence that can be retested, or there's evidence that can, you know, get your sentence modified, it shouldn't take years. And one of the things that I think it's really important to understand, that the system is not what everybody really thinks it is. And I know that we've heard a lot about the Indiana prison systems, and I'm sure in every state there's stories about every state's prisons. But this one in particular has been really a high profile prison, the Westville prison. And, Kevin's got a little bit of insight about that, and some of the ins and outs with the guards working there. Do you want to talk about that?
What do you want to know? I can say a little bit. I can't say no names or nothing like that.
Yeah, no names. No, you don't have to say any names. No, just the actual
Well,
the
when you were here a couple months ago, when you came over for the weekend, we talked about how I knew someone that had delivered dope to the prison to a guard for their dope.
so the person was taking dope to the prison in exchange for getting their own dope at no cost. But this was Was this something that was ongoing because the guards were filtering it back in to the
I
inmates?
had only heard about it that one time.
Okay. Okay. I'm just checking through to make sure. Does anybody have any more questions for Kevin? Have you figured out yet, Kevin, who Four Pits is?
Yeah, I know exactly who it is.
Okay.
100% who it is.
I've been trying to get him to come on here for a couple weeks. I know he's pretty much over the YouTube thing, but if he could just do it one more time, Four Pits. You have a lot of
3% wanted to thank he's great, or he or she is grateful for Kevin coming on and for all the work you do, Amy.
Oh, thank you. It's been a long, I mean, it has taken forever just to get to this point. You know, Ashley's case sat in limbo for almost 2 years. And, you know, in Newton County, it's one of the counties that doesn't when you have a public defender and you lose your trial. Some counties in Indiana require your trial attorney to be removed from the case and an appellate attorney takes over. That didn't happen in this case. Ashley's original trial attorney filed her direct appeal. And the obviously there's not going to be a lot of, you know, she didn't do a very good job. And you'll see that when we get into the trial. A horrible job. Just come out and say it. She did a horrible flipping job. And Ashley was pretty much Ashley, they put on no defense. And not because Ashley didn't want her to. Ashley trusted her. Ashley felt that she knew Ashley was innocent and that she was going to fight for her and present everything that Ashley had made available to her that she knew of. Now, there's some things like the Ray Hainish case that Ashley didn't know. And to put all of this into perspective, the one true shining object about Ashley's trial is the fact that it never was once spoken that Garett and Nicole were a couple. That Garett and Nicole had been living together, that Garett and Nicole had spent that entire day together, that Garett and Nicole were arrested in a man's car who was found dead. And the reason Garett was claiming that he killed Nicole was because she was a snitch. So to me, that is, it's ridiculous that her own attorney did not even present the real facts of this case. So I am going to, I think I'm going to make it more of like a habit. Oh, Toby's in here. I didn't even see. Hey, Toby. So I'm going to, going forward, just because I want to pound it in to everyone's head, I'm going to read this letter because it took me forever to get my hands on it. And I think I'm going to end every Ashley episode with this letter that did not get to be read at her trial, only a portion of it. And this letter, and to put it into perspective, you have, who said that? Thank you, Indy Cindy. That would be great. I'm going to read this letter that Garett wrote to Ashley right after them being arrested. You have to understand that Ashley is sitting in there scared. She's scared of Garett. She knows what he's capable of. She is scared of Talitha. She knows that the two of them are in this against her. And everything that Garett was saying and doing in the jail, Ashley was giving to her attorney. So this was the letter that Garett wrote to Ashley in the Newton County Jail. Says, Ashley Nicole, my love. Okay, listen, 100. Speaking the truth, and this stays between you and I only. What they are saying is not the truth. I have never blanked with another man, nor have I committed another sexual assault with a man. This situation is not what it looks like, okay? Did he die? Yes. Was he purposefully killed? I will not answer that, perhaps until I know for 100% fact that you won't use it against me by talking to the detectives. I allowed my mom. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I called my mom and she hasn't heard anything about it. So, how is your mom? As you know, I'm a dirty white boy. I have a higher up that calls the shots. I have to follow through with, if I don't follow through the orders, I'm given something bad and will happen to me or my family. Ashley, I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't trust you. You promised me you'd never say anything to get me in trouble. And here I am in jail facing 50 years because you told on me about what happened to Nicole. That wasn't part that the worst part about it is that you turned Sneath against me too, because you played the victim like you always do. Well, newsflash, sweetheart, your DNA will get found on Nicole's body too, because you were fighting. And I would never say anything to get you in trouble because I actually love you the way I say I do. I killed Nicole because I was protecting you. I didn't want to see her hurt you when you two guys got in the fight in the living room. And the reason that she made you jealous all those times. I bet you wouldn't have killed for me. You would have let them hurt me, but we both know no one would beat my ass if both my hands were tied behind my back, but that's besides the point. You wouldn't have killed him because he made me jealous. I'm not a monster, no matter what you or anyone says. I can't read his writing. I want you to put your mind at ease. Well, put my mind at ease for snitching on me and for all of the times you've left me. I love you, Ashley, but you have stabbed me in the back time and time again. Ride or die means nothing to you. If you love me, prove it. I promise you that no man could love you more than I do. Before I end this, after I have to tell you to keep your mouth shut. To those officers, they're not your friend. I've had your back time and time again, and I've defended you. It's time for you to do the same for me. That's his letter. That right there, isn't Ashley sitting in a jail cell getting that letter from him because she supposedly helped kill a girl for him? So I will let you guys end on that one. And I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow afternoon or not. I might, depends on what I get done tonight and then tomorrow morning. Travis Williams asked, does your guest know the reference to ride or die? So the reference to ride or die is something that Talitha and Garett always said to each other. And when the morning after Garett killed Nicole, when the three of them were in the car, Garett and Nicole were talking about them two being in it to ride or die together. And later when we go on, we're going to get into the letter that Talitha wrote to Garett, and that's referenced big time. So that is the significance of the ride or die. And apparently Ashley, because she she did go into Lafayette Police Department, but she went in there fearful, not knowing if Garett was arrested, not knowing where these people were, and if I know that she went in there not thinking that she was going to be arrested. So she had a reason to be afraid, and she had a reason to protect the story. And she still got, and you have to understand, this is months and months now of the police department failing her, failing to protect her from him. And when and there was no domestic violence advocate or expert who was brought into this case to take the stand to explain, there's one thing to be in a domestic violent relationship, but there's another thing to be choked unconscious and then to actually watch this same person do it all the way through and take someone's life. I don't know that level of fear. I don't think I've probably ever experienced that in my life. So go ahead, Cherie.
Did you see this statement from Hippie Chick? So wait, he sent this to her in jail confessing, and this was not brought up in her trial. Thought you might want to explain that.
Yes. This whole letter was not read at Ashley's trial. Only a couple of sentences. The judge did not allow it because in pretrial motions, that at the time of Ashley's trial, Garett Kurtz had not been charged for the murder of Ray Hainish. So therefore, that did not allow Ashley's attorney to bring the Ray Hainish information in, that Nicole and Garett were in his car together. We don't know if Nicole was with Garett at Ray's apartment. We know there was a party thrown at Ray's apartment. But none of this was allowed to come in. And because this letter references that murder, the judge did not allow the whole thing in. So it wasn't read in the entirety. And, but yes, this letter was written when Garett was in Newton County Jail and Ashley was in the Newton County Jail, but they were, they're separated by men's side and women's side. And Ashley provided this letter to her attorney. So this is why I'm here, because she's sitting in prison for 48 years. And Jasmine Parker is already out, and Talitha Beckley is about to get out, and Jason Paladino was never even charged. And as we go through this, we're going to line up all the ducks in a row. And hopefully you will understand why I believe Ashley is innocent of this. She was there. She wasn't there by choice, but she wasn't there because of a pre-plan. And I don't believe that Garett knew that he was going to be expected that day to carry out what Jason Paladino wanted him to do. And I really believe that Garett tried to end Nicole's life with a hot shot at Mikey Hiddle's apartment before even going out there to Kentland. So I'll read this letter again at the end of every live, so it sinks in. And anybody out there who wants to reach out to Ashley, she would love to hear from anybody who's willing to just support her, chat with her. She's very lonely. She has a son, and I know that Nicole doesn't get to see her sons either, but Ashley's a victim too. And it's cases like this where it's a very fine line between the truth and what can be proven. And she just needs the right attorney. She needs the right people behind her to get the truth out into the light. Like, I understand she was there. Nicole came at her. Garett intervened. That the DNA is there. The DNA is there. And there's not much of it. And there's things where DNA should be that there's not. And if Ashley's going to be ride or die and conspire with Garett and these other people to kill Nicole, why didn't she follow through with helping him and helping him dispose of the body. Because that's not the situation. That was not. Ashey freaked out. And even in the middle of the freak out, Garett was hitting her because she was crying. His own side piece, Talitha, discusses that in her interrogation video. That Garett chased her back to the bedroom and was hitting her. So if you guys are out and about in chats, in the YouTube streets, and you see people saying things that you've learned on this channel not to be true, please speak up. There was nobody speaking for Ashey or really for Nicole for the 2 years we were awaiting trial for Ashey. So please speak up. Stop, shut the rumors down. So thank you all for being here. We've been here for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I appreciate all of you. There is a Facebook group for Ashey. If you'd like to join it, it's called Ashey Garth Case Discussion. Please join. And I update in there when things are filed in her case, and any information that I get, I discuss when we're going live. And hopefully here soon, Cherie and I will be getting her entire her case filed together and either uploaded in there so everyone has access to everything, transcripts, motions, her appeal, her post-conviction relief, the interrogation videos, all of that. I want to get it all in one place, either in there or on a website. So, and Ashey wanted me to tell all of you, thank you for the support, and she appreciates it. She did listen to half the live. She called and listened on the phone. So she always does. So have a good night, everybody. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time out. I hope we didn't keep you up too late. Cherie, thank you for being here as always.
I'm going to sleep right now.
Okay. I'll talk to you later, Kevin.
All right,
Good
bye.
night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Cherie. Good night.
Bye.